Thank you, Madam Chair, and Mr. Gallagher is always welcome to switch sides of the aisle, or we can talk afterwards.
Then I would have to not respect unintended quiet. Never mind, it's a question for a separate time.
Ms. Fulton, first of all, welcome as a fellow New Jerseyan. Happy to see you here and very pleased to see the strides that New Jersey has been making in improving school bus safety going forward, especially after the tragic accident in Mount Olive, which happened in my district, as you know. I was able to meet Miranda's father and sister just a couple of weeks ago when they came to Washington to advocate for greater federal involvement in preventing tragedies like that bus crash from ever happening again. In that context, I wanted to ask you to say a little bit more about New Jersey's employer notification system. I think you began to a little bit earlier. As I understand, it was recently updated to better prevent bad drivers from getting behind the wheel of a bus. And I wonder if you could explain how the system works and some of the changes that we have made.
Yes, thank you, Congressman Malinowski. So we at Motor Vehicle, when a notice of suspension is posted by the courts or law enforcement to a driver's license, and that driver's license has a school bus endorsement, a report is automatically generated, and we do this on a daily basis, every business day, and for us, Saturday's a business day. So 6 days a week, we generate a report. Anyone who holds that school bus endorsement whose license has been suspended, and that goes directly to the Department of Ed. And then the Department of Ed was notifying operators. The change in the law, first, shortens the time that the employer has, and the Department of Education. So Department of Education has 24 hours to notify the operator, whether it's the Board of Ed or the private operator, that this driver has been suspended, and they must confirm within another 24 hours that that driver is off the road, that that driver is not driving a school bus. And the second piece of the legislation is that we don't just do that for suspensions or 12 points or over, which generates a suspension. We're now required to do that if you get 6 points or more, or 3 moving violations in a 3-year period. So there are more stringent requirements, and the notification has shortened. This is still relatively new, but that's how it works.
And so let's move from that to the across state lines issue. If somebody had an infraction, let's say someone had the equivalent of 6 points in another state, moved to New Jersey, what would happen? And how soon would it happen?
Well, first, Congressman, if there's a notice of suspension that comes from another state, we may get that any number of ways, depending on whether we have an agreement with that state where we get something electronically, or whether we get it in the mail the way that we communicate with some of our sister states. So it may come in the mail, and that can take time. It has to be managed manually. The 6 points, now that's a new New Jersey rule, and we've not yet gotten that to happen automatically, right? So there's not an automatic trigger of 6 points that come in from another state. Now, I guess once it gets posted to the New Jersey driver license, then we're in state and we can manage it. But it's getting that, the real trick is getting notice from the other state. How long does it take for a conviction that happens in Pennsylvania or New York? How long does it take for that conviction to get posted in New Jersey? That's manual process many times.
So that just leads to the obvious final question, which is whether a national ENS, employer notification system, would be helpful.
A national notification system would be helpful for us, for sure. And you know, I know I've referenced AMVA before, but we actually use AMVA's existing system for other CDL information. So that does that would be helpful.
Great, thank you. I yield back.